Barbara Arrowsmith Young. She's a best-selling author of the book, The Woman Who Changed Her Brain. So she was a real pioneer in terms of neuroplasticity being utilized in education. Our whole program is focused on strengthening the brain. So we really want to empower our students to be able to continue with education and learning by strengthening their ability to learn.
What is the single biggest misconception about students with learning disabilities that you wish more people could correct?
Okay, so I really think it's about the ability for the brain to change. The brain can change. And so through a neuroplastic approach, strengthen an individual's capacity. It's not about closing doors. It's about rewiring the brain and opening doors.
Love it. All right, I'm ready to jump in. Shelley, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm excited. I mean, we've been talking, and I feel like I have so many more questions, which has got me more excited about this. So I appreciate you sharing and being here with us today. So thank you.
Thank you.
So for our guests or for our listeners that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you like myself, can you walk us through your history, sort of how you got into the world of education? What's your background? What's your story, Shelley?
Yeah, I went right at a young age. I knew I wanted to go into education, and I was really debating between psychology and education, and because I had a real interest in supporting the needs of individuals with special learning needs. And, through my early years, volunteered with families who had children with special needs, worked at a summer camp, then worked in group homes, and was doing my university degree. And started out in a, regular classroom. And then through my journey began to specialize more in special education and was a community living teacher, a resource teacher, and then eventually became a principal and then a system principal of special education and then a superintendent of special education. Then I retired, and during COVID, got a little bit restless, and it was like, I wonder what else is out there. And so I was looking online and saw the position of head of school for Barbara Arrowsmith Young, and did not get up from my desk until I had submitted my application. And all of that led me to coming to Toronto to live and to work for Barbara and the school and really try to help move her work forward.
Yeah. And the roles in special education with the superintendent, vice principal, where was that?
I was in Trillium Lakelands District School Board for 24 years, and then in Hamilton for a few years just before retiring.
Wow. Is Paula Mann the director of it? I'm trying to remember because I was just emailing someone from that school board.
Right. Okay. Yeah, within both boards, the directors have changed since the time that I was there. Yeah,
but it's often, I have found it almost you might be the first for someone to go through that path, retire, and then have the inclination to say, I want to go back into this world. So was that difficult for you? I mean, I assume like you got to a point where you retired, you're like, okay, it's time for me to relax and take it easy. And then what's the mentality there? Was there a bit of restlessness to get back to work? What was that like?
I think that I just felt like I still had more to offer. Working as a superintendent and in the field of special education, it's highly political. That maybe you're not working at the ground level in the way that you would love to be doing. And I really loved being a principal. And so working at Arrowsmith, I feel like it gives me some of the leadership opportunity that I had as a superintendent, but then that role of a principal and being directly connected to families through the successes, the celebrations, and the challenges, where I felt more in special ed at that level. It was more of a focus on resolving the difficulties, which I was really committed to and passionate about, and but truthfully didn't have a very good work-life balance. And so at that time, my family really needed my support, so I was able to help them through some pretty difficult things. And then when things got calm, I got restless.
Yeah, it's time to get back into the world.
Yes.
Now, Arrowsmith, very interesting, by the way. I only learned about it very recently. Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of people don't know yet a lot about Arrowsmith and the approach towards education. Can you, in your own voice, because I don't want to steal that from you, what does that look like and how is it different from a traditional school or classroom?
Okay. So, what's unique about our school is that we are a school that originally was founded to support individuals with learning difficulties. We do have students who are also attending more on a part-time basis who are really just focusing on enhancing some cognitive functions of the brain. And so what we really look at is that everything that we do draws upon the cognitive functions of the brain, and we look at 19 different functions. And when at the surface that we might see individuals who are struggling to read, they're struggling to do math, they're struggling to write. But when we look at their performance within each of these functions, that their profiles, their cognitive profiles will look very different. That at the surface, your difficulty with learning to read may be very different than someone else's. And so what we do is really get at the root of the concern, and that's where it originates, which is within the brain. And so our exercises are based on the principles of neuroplasticity, where individuals need to engage. That's a big aspect. It doesn't happen through osmosis. Individuals need to engage in exercises for a sustained period of time that are novel and continue to become more challenging as each level is mastered, which is very different than a traditional classroom. That every student in our school is working on an individualized program. And within that individualized program, they're all at their own personal levels of achievement and working toward the next goal. Where within a regular classroom, even though a student might have an individual education plan, the work in front of them might not be as different from their peers. Our students, our whole program is focused on strengthening the brain, wherein traditional education systems right now, much of the focus is on early intervention specific to reading and some intervention around math. And if you don't overcome those difficulties in the early primary grades, then the shift becomes accommodations, modifications, and reduced expectations. So we really want to empower our students to be able to continue with education and learning by strengthening their ability to learn. And for me, that's really exciting, and it's wonderful to see the difference and the impact rather than having families feeling like doors are closing for them when they discover their child is struggling. That I feel our program really opens doors. And it is a shame that more people don't know about us, and that's our challenge as a school, is figuring out how do we help families know about us, because that is often what we hear is, why didn't I hear about you sooner? Especially when we, are bringing teenagers or young adults into our school, or even middle-aged adults coming in and wishing they had discovered us earlier.
There's a lot to unwrap there for me as well. But I'll start by saying, so if I was to come to the school, what will some of the exercises look like? So are these cognitive exercises? Are these like, we're going to look at your math level, like more academic exercises? What would that look like if I was to do these exercises and partake in them that you're talking about?
So what it would be, we do have an academic, like English and math within our school, but that's an area where really we can utilize the gains that our students are making within their cognitive program and build their capacity in those areas. But in our cognitive classes, what you would see is everyone's working. Some people are working on pencil paper exercises, pen paper exercises, marker paper exercises. Others are working on auditory exercises. Others are working on exercises that are right on the computer screen, and they know what their goal is specific to the exercise. Each screen will probably have something different on it because everyone's working at a different level. Most of the exercises have where there's feedback within the exercise, but also feedback from a teacher. So if you're doing an auditory exercise, you need to work on the learning, whatever it is that you're working to remember. And then you're going to a teacher and testing out where you're at with your attempt, make an attempt, and you'll discover whether you need to do a little bit more work or whether you've mastered onto the next question or even to the next level. And so it's very, it's not traditional. With one of the exercises, you will see passages on a computer, but what we're doing with them is likely very different than what you would be doing with them in a traditional classroom. You'll look at another computer screen and be wondering, what are all those symbols? That doesn't look like English. How is this going to help someone learn? And that would be related to our symbol recognition, cognitive function, and exercise.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, there's you'd also see lots of students celebrating because they've mastered. You'll see students encouraging one another because maybe they've already mastered that level and know the work and effort that went into it. But it is all about working towards success, and we're not accommodating students or reducing expectations. It's about strengthening their abilities to learn. And if someone's struggling, then it's our job to really figure out how we're going to support them in being able to do that task that's in front of them independently.
How do the levels work? Because
they gradually increase with level of difficulty. So an auditory exercise might start with just a few words. And then become more and more challenging. A symbol recognition program might start with a few symbols and become more and more challenging. The most common and popular and widely used exercise is the symbol relations cognitive exercise, commonly referred to as clocks. And within the clocks program, there are different levels, and each level has different tasks that the student's trying to do that prepare them for the next task. So that if you get to 10 hands clock, you can do it. Or if you get to 6 hands equal length in clock, where all the hands on the clock are the same length, then you need to figure out what time it is. Through reasoning and logic and all the learning that happened before that level, then you're prepared to do it. It's all very scaffolded.
Yeah.
So you're not jumping and starting at a high level. You're building the foundation each step of the way. And at the same time as that foundation's being built, your brain is rewiring itself so that those functions, whatever function it's targeting, are becoming stronger. So you are able to do the work. And then that transfers into how I engage in the world, how I learn when I'm reading the information I'm able to take in, how I engage socially.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How do you, this is a very random question. What does the hiring look like?
What does the hiring
I assume
look like?
A teacher has a certain, being okay, I'm going to teach a certain way, I'm going to do a certain thing. Are you hiring psychologists? Are you hiring teachers? Are you hiring both?
We actually, our team in our organization, we do have people with psych backgrounds, but the people in front of the students, they are Ontario certified teachers for the most part. If they aren't, that they have all of the, we just have one individual who isn't an Ontario certified teacher, but they are highly skilled and do have an educational psychology background.
Right.
But then our teachers also take the Arrowsmith Teachers Program, which is very intensive and focused on specifically supporting and teaching the Arrowsmith program. And so
and it's like a training program. So
it's a specific training. Anyone that's offering the program, any sites around the world, their teachers need to have taken the teachers training program.
Yeah.
We really look to bring in individuals that do have experience with working with students with special education
Yeah.
needs so that they have some, understanding. We need compassionate individuals. We do have a teacher who used to be an Arrowsmith student, and then he
Oh, yeah?
went to university and then got accepted into Teachers College, and
Oh,
then
wow.
he wanted
Full
to
circle.
give
Yeah.
back by coming and working at our school.
I love that. And so I know, so it sounds like it's a global concept.
Yes. Yeah.
I know that there's one in Toronto that you're leading. What about the rest? Like, is it across?
So there are in 16 countries around the world
Oh,
right
wow.
now, 75 different sites that are offering the Arrowsmith program. It's very popular in Australia, New Zealand, and Spain. Quite a few sites in the United States. And then within our own school, we have individuals joining in person or online from other countries in the world that people will relocate their family in order to access the program.
Wow.
Or they'll attend, the closest site that they can find. We are like the flagship school. We're Barbara's school. But all the other sites are affiliated with us. Data is monitored by our program team. Implementation is monitored by our program team.
Is it the only site in Canada? The only site in Canada is in the one that's in Toronto?
No, we do. There are other sites in Canada as
wow,
well,
okay.
and there's a large school out west, Eton Arrowsmith. And right on our website, it does list all of the sites. And so if someone's coming to us from a distance, then we'll often explore with them, have you considered attending a little closer to home? Sometimes families want to attend the school that
for a
Barbara
specific reason.
Created.
So who is Barbara, for those that don't know?
Barbara Arrowsmith Young. So she's a woman who... she's a best-selling author of the book, The Woman Who Changed Her Brain. And she's a woman who really struggled with learning. She had many strengths as a child and teenager and young adult, but she had many obstacles that were getting in her way. When she was in grade 1, her classroom teacher said to her parents that she would never succeed, that she, to really lower the bar on their expectations. And so because of her strengths are really what allowed her to create this program. And she did study in the field of psychology and became aware of the ability for the brain to change. And this was over 40 years ago. So she was a real pioneer in terms of neuroplasticity being utilized in education. And so first she addressed her own needs by developing the symbol relations, the CLOCKS program, and then began to develop other programs by learning about and supporting other individuals' needs. And so the school's been functioning for over 40 years, and just
who would have thought, right? The teacher, you should you go back to that teacher, and who would have thought that there would be a school on Barbara's name, right?
Exactly.
That's incredible. I love that story. You also used a lot of, when we were doing some research, computer-based programs, teacher tablets. You have a lot of data-driven work that goes on behind the school as well. It's a lot of technology involved, given that there's people, as you said, joining from different countries as well, but even teachers, and the way that students engage in learning also looks different as well. So how does technology look in terms of the background for the school? Like, is it the backbone of the school, and other things that have worked really well when it comes to technology that you could share that other schools could start thinking about as well, to say, you know what, maybe we should try that out?
So I think our teacher tablet with all the live data is incredible.
Okay.
I've never in all my years in education seen anything like it.
Me neither, yeah.
That I can be in my office, and if I want to see what that little child is doing at this moment in England, I can log in to look at their name and see what they're producing, what their accuracy is, whether they're making good use of their time, whether they're reaching their goals or depending on, what time we are. Are we halfway through the period? Are they halfway toward reaching their goals? Which then, a teacher is doing that as well. And so they're monitoring the data. They're seeing what the child is doing. The student can see the data on their dashboard on their computer.
Huh.
They can see what their goal is. They can see a graph that's showing different colors for their level engagement. We always want to go for the green. We want green by the end of the period, meaning they've been well engaged, and we really want them to achieve their goals. If a parent wants to see what's happening, they can log in to the system, look at the dashboard. They can drill down and see, how long has my child been working on this particular level or this particular question? What's their level of accuracy? How many sets have they done? For the symbol relations exercise, they can even go and look at a clock that their child, maybe didn't get correct and see, I wonder what was happening there, or there trends that are happening. And that's what our teachers are doing. They're trying to look at the data. And as a team, if we see a student that's, maybe not progressing as well as we would hope, then we can get together and try to look at, okay, what's going on with the data? What's going on with them? What can we do? Talk to the student, figure out what's getting in the way here for you.
Yeah.
And we can see how their performance has compared to a whole history of past Arrowsmith students, which is allowing us to know, is their rate of progress through a particular exercise typical of Arrowsmith students, or is there something we can do? And we work closely with families too, that some individuals have more.
I was going to ask, are the parents more
motivation.
involved?
Yeah.
Like the parents, are they more involved than a traditional
I
youth
think
scene?
it really ranges, just the way you would find in
any school.
Is that with some families, they register
in the data.
The children attend, where their other families are, that they do want to know regularly. We always try to keep parents informed all the way along, but some it's more of a reciprocal relationship than others. Some are fairly quiet unless we're reaching out directly to them for something. Yeah. So that, I would say that part's very similar, but they love the ones who want to know and who are really engaged. They love that they can log in and go in and check. And sometimes that's what we have to do, is help them find a balance between, let's make sure we're not putting too much emphasis and pressure on the data. Let's use it as a tool to figure out how to be helpful, rather than, oh my goodness, why didn't you, achieve 13 sets today when,
don't get tied up into the small things.
Yeah. So, no, it's incredible what we can do with the technology that we have available, and that live time component, where you might see that typically getting feedback on an assignment that you've done might take a day, 2, 3 weeks in some other setting, where this is, you're always getting the feedback. And we work with the students to set goals for engagement and to set goals for achievement, for accuracy.
Yeah.
And
wow, that's really incredible. No, that's really fun. And so, is there like a story from a student that really stands out to you? Because I would love for you to share a success story. Arrowsmith student, I know one that you shared that the individual came back to teach, but are there any that stand out that you're like, it was really cool? And the reason I ask is because on our few episodes ago, we had Brendan, and he spent a lot of time also in special education as superintendent, and now he's leading the school board. But he said one of the biggest things that he was proud of was changing the narrative at his school board to go from thinking about more support means better outcomes for kids versus actually working towards making them independent. It's not about how much volume of support you give them, because that's not helping them become independent. So I'm just curious to know from you, because this approach is so unique, are there any stories that stand out to you?
And I did listen to that episode with Brandon.
Yeah.
It's tough because there's lots of stories. And I think like the commonalities are that students are coming to us and families are coming to us in a really quite often discouraged state. That when we think about the connection between learning disabilities and mental health challenges, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing young children coming with, high anxiety, low self-esteem, potentially the victims of bullying because they're not keeping up, with their classmate. They stand out differently. And so, that one young student that I can think of that's a fairly recent student was really struggling in mathematics. He was fairly confident or capable in some of the literacy areas, but his difficulties socially, emotionally, and with the math were really compromising his well-being, his school experience, his self-esteem, and that's difficult for a parent to observe. And so he came into our school, and he, with being a full-time student, he had a Arrowsmith cognitive assessment. We looked at which cognitive functions needed to be addressed, and we typically start by addressing some of the higher order cognitive functions first. And so this student was with us for 3 years, and in that time, he brought his math capabilities up to where now he's in grade 8 and getting A's. Last.
Even I wasn't that good.
Yeah. 94. I hear these stories all the time. I had a parent who I didn't know say that she could I make sure the staff knew that her son had just finished graduating from high school. Was the valedictorian of his school and was going into neuroplasticity himself. And this was a child, when he came to the school at the age of 9, didn't know all the letters of the alphabet.
Incredible.
And so when your child's coming in at the age of 9 and doesn't know the alphabet, what they think of themselves as a learner
it's so
and a
tough.
reader, and even what you potentially think about your child as a reader and learner, you're thinking it's not going to be possible. And in these, there's so many situations like that. I had a student work in our summer program last summer as a volunteer, and he had attended Arrowsmith and had come in. He was in grade 6 reading at like a grade 1.8 or 9 level, and that's a huge difference in abilities, writing at a similar level, doing math at a similar level. But now is in the doing well and on the pathway to going to university, doing the academic stream, the university track for in high school, succeeding, doing well. It's life-changing. And what's important about the program is that it's about closing the gap. That some of the things that we do in education don't close that gap, or they don't close that gap at the pace that we need it to. And so when you're closing a gap, if you can at least achieve 1 year in learning during a school year, or potentially more than 1 year, ideally, within a school year, then you're helping the student eventually get up to grade level, where many interventions aren't closing the gap, or the gap is being sustained, or the gap is widening. And so when you think if a student achieved a grade 1.9 in all the years from kindergarten to grade 6, and then in 3 years was able to close the gap from 1.9 up to 7.4, so that he could then head into grade 7 or grade 8, grade 9. That's a lot of years in a short period of time versus little gains in a long period of time. And so that's what our program is able to offer. Now, what's important is to know is you do have to engage. As I said earlier, it's not, doesn't happen through osmosis. The student has to engage.
You have to invest in it.
We need to be helping them move through, but it is about mastery. It's not about raising the bar if they haven't reached the first bar. It's about raising the bar because they did reach the first bar. Let's celebrate and raise it again. Let's not lower the bar. And so that's
I really like
it's
that.
powerful. And the parents, when you have a child in your family who's struggling, the trauma that can happen within that family can be significant.
It's really difficult.
That
Yeah.
it impacts the whole family. And so when you're able to support your child and engage your child and see them learning,
Yeah.
then it transforms their future, but the whole moving forward of
Yeah.
a family. And that's what I want to see for
Yeah.
more families. We're a private school that I keep wondering, we are in Ontario, right in Ontario Public Systems backyard.
Yeah.
Why aren't we utilizing these tools in our system?
Yeah.
And when I look at the we have the EQAO data that we see all the time. I was, a big part of EQAO, even marked for EQAO a couple of years. And the gains that we've seen in literacy, in reading and writing, that I really do feel are attributed to our ability to accommodate students and, scribe for them or have them using speech to text. And that's why we're not seeing the gains in math, because you can't accommodate the thinking that's involved in math in the same way. And so our program does address the thinking, the critical thinking, the analyzing, the logic, and so it is about real change rather than reduced expectations.
Wow. Can I volunteer next summer?
Yeah, sure. You can come.
I'll make sure to
come
email
and visit us.
Yeah, I'd love that, because it sounds like there's so much happening too. And I think it's a very unique approach. To your point, more awareness should be around it, I think.
Yeah.
Whether it's with the public school systems or the independent school systems, right? Because at the end of the day, there are different types of students everywhere. At every school, there's a different type of student, different type of learning expectation, different type of learning needs. Math has always been a point of difficulty, even in North America in general. In terms when we compare globally, we're usually a little bit behind in that index in our students. And so, what can we do to help support students that are struggling with something like that in a way that's a little bit unique? That really builds on even more of an important skill. It's not about X plus Y is equal to 2. It's about how do you think about the approach towards solving the problem.
And in some of the schools in Spain, they're doing a whole school approach where each year all the students, because we can all benefit from cognitive enhancement, are doing a different exercise,
Some sort of exercise
each year.
Yeah.
And so when I think about, our math in our province, that symbol relations, quantification sense, symbol recognition, let's even just try those 3 and see where we get.
Yeah, you never know. You really never know. I love that. Is there, I think when you look at the future of Arrowsmith, right, and you look at where you and the team want to take it, what are some things that come to mind? Like in 5 years, if I was to sit down with you again, where would you want Arrowsmith to be? And also, another question for you is, what's something that keeps you up at night today? Is there something that you're like, man, we got to solve this problem? So I would love those two sides of the question.
Yeah. So I think, I'm someone who grew up in public education. I worked in public education for the majority of my career. And, and I didn't mention at the start, I did work in other areas of the province. When I first started, I was in Lakehead University, and then I was in an Indigenous community or First Nation community just outside of Thunder Bay as well. So I have quite a wide experience across the province. And so for me, what I want to see is that this is available to everyone who needs it. I have a brother with severe learning disabilities, and his needs weren't addressed. Talented and gifted in many ways, but struggled in many ways that have really impacted his life, his physical health, his mental health. And I don't want to see families go through that. I don't want to see, someone that has a 61-year-old brother, and I'm sitting here today saying, what if he had this program way back when? What would his life have looked like?
Yeah.
And so that's what I really want to see, is figure out how can we make the program more accessible to families. And, not all families have the means. Many families, learning disabilities run in the family. So they have a child, and they're already stretched. One of the things that we actually see quite a bit of right now is where grandparents are the ones that are supporting the tuition
Wow.
of their children, of their grandchildren coming to the school. But, I would love to solve the mystery of how do we make this more accessible to everyone? How can we work with other systems to give everyone what it is that they need so that they can succeed? And I think if we can solve, that, when we think about, education at its core was really an economic strategy that we need people to be able to be capable so they can contribute to our community, to our countries. But right now we're seeing significant compromised well-being. The number of school boards that have in their annual plans or their 5-year plans around the focus on well-being because of what's happening with, young children, teens. When we look at our systems where people are unemployed, not finding work, can't work because of their compromised well-being, even our legal system, the correlation between the number of people in prisons who have learning disabilities. So my biggest wondering and hope is that we can address learning disabilities, and by doing so, that we will impact graduation rates. We will reduce the number of early school leavers. We will have people feeling good about themselves. That we will have people able to work and contribute in the way that they want to. Everybody wants to do well. I really do believe that, when that little 4-year-old got sent off to school and arrived at school, he wanted to do well. His parents wanted him to do well. But suddenly our system has the ability to learn to read and to do math can be challenging for some people. And when you can't do that, it chips away at who you are. And so if we can address that, I think that we will address a lot of issues. And so it's figuring out how do we make this happen? How do we... There is a time and a place for reducing expectations. Let's reduce expectations and accommodate while we're addressing the concern. But reducing expectations, modifying, and accommodating aren't the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if I'm a teacher at a public school teaching math, and I know that there's certain students in my class that have learning challenges that make it more difficult for them than their peers to be able to keep up. Now, as a teacher, what can I do? Because one of it is a system level, which is their programs and the initiatives and there's this and there's that, but there's still this. It's not perfect by any means. But if I'm a teacher today, what would you suggest I do at a public school? Is there something I could do on my level in the classroom to help that student feel better, or sort of get them a little bit more comfortable than they already are?
Yeah, if I were looking at math specifically, certainly that I would want people to be aware that there are options to address the concern. But as a teacher within my realm of control, that what I want to do is look at what I can do to empower the student. What is that first next step? That I know our systems really went away from spending time on remembering basic facts, the recall, the automaticity of basic facts. Those are so important. If I'm putting all of my energy into solving basic facts, if I can't multiply 3 times 4 quickly, or if I can't add 2 plus 4, I'm putting all of my energy there. So how am I going to be able to solve that word problem that's in front of me? So as a teacher, just building those foundations, I would see as a first step within your control. But also teachers can be advocates. When I was a grade 2 teacher, one of my early years in teaching, I was teaching in Cobeconk within Trillium Lakelands District School Board. And I had 18 students who needed resource support. And it was like, wow, by grade 2, how do this many students need resource support? And I had already finished my specialist in special education, and I had just fortunately completed my specialist in reading. And so what I thought is, what are all the high yield best practices that support literacy development? And I know that as a system, I'm not going to get more resource hours. I'm not going to get more teachers in the school to help my specific group of students. So what's in my power to do? And so I created a program that was a repeated reading tutor program. I went to the intermediate teachers in the school and said, may I borrow enough of your students to match every one of my students up so that they can offer a repeated reading tutor program. And it wasn't reading buddies. It was a very structured program that I could train the students on doing and then had them work with my students for 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And by the end of the year, 2 students needed resource support, and they probably continued to need support throughout most of their career. The other students, and even those students, all went up by at least 1 grade level. Most went up by 2, and some went up by 3. And the other 16 didn't require resource support. So then I continued that in other schools. As a principal, brought it into my school. As a district principal, offered it to other schools in the system. And as a superintendent, did the same. So we do have the power as classroom teachers to really try to think about and understand what the best practices are and not feel alone in it. How can I problem solve and utilize other individuals within the school and get other people on board to support? And those grade 8 and 7 students benefited as well.
They're training skills. Exactly.
That they gained a lot. And when you think that was 1 hour a week, really, that they were committing to this, that's, there's lots of lost time in other ways. And this wasn't lost time for them. And it certainly made a significant difference for other students in the school. So I'm hoping in Trillium that because a lot of schools did start bringing this in, and I'm hoping it's still continuing.
And it's so important, right, to think about, how can I work with the other people? And because at the end of the day, everyone in education has this deep care for students, right? So I think there's a bit of a openness to those type of ideas depending on where you are and your circumstances. But I think to your point is it's not trying to solve this battle alone.
Yeah.
You're not trying to go on a mission to be a sole hero or anything like that, right? It's about how do you support the kids that need the support, do it in a way that's meaningful, and then work with the people, right? There's so many people that are ready to partner with.
And other students love to lead. Right?
Yes,
even in schools, we had some schools that only went up to grade 4. They did this as well, using their grade 3 and 4 students.
Yeah, I used to enjoy it in school too.
And 1.
Yeah.
And the leadership that you can find and build in a grade 4 student.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Remarkable.
Yeah. And it's so easy. It's just counterintuitive, but it's in your own school. You could do a lot of this in your own school, build the skills and support the younger kids as well. I used to love that. I remember in high school, I used to have to go to the primary school. We used to say sort of the younger kids. We would sort of spend time with them and tutoring, math help, English help, and helping them out. And I was maybe in grade 9, 10, but I used to really enjoy it. It's a very fond memory of mine. So I think that also, you're building a lot of good moments for kids in that way too. I love that. That's really good. I'm going to shift gears here into sort of our rapid fire round. Okay. So I'm going to throw you a question, Shelley, and I'd love a response from you in under a minute. My first question for you: what is the single biggest misconception about students with learning disabilities that you wish more people could correct?
Okay, so I really think it's about the ability for the brain to change. The brain can change. And so through a neuroplastic approach, we can strengthen an individual's capacity. It's not about closing doors. It's about rewiring the brain and opening doors.
Love it. Yeah.
Nice.
The brain can change.
Yep.
I love it. What is one belief about education or leadership that you have changed your mind on recently?
Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one. And it's related to the Learning for All, which is really a provincial focus, and the necessary for some, good for all. And I really do think that when we're looking at our resources, we need to make sure we meet the needs of the necessary before spreading them thinly through the all. And and I like to think about it as if we were a family all sitting around the table and one of our members of our family was struggling, that we would make sure that struggling member of our family got what they needed before we all benefited from the perks. And maybe we have to hold back on some things that we want to do to make sure that we're going to give, what that one individual needs. And so I thought we were further along in terms of equity and understanding. But these types of things and the decisions that get made make me aware that we still have a long way to go.
Yeah. That's a really good reflection. Wow. After more than 30 years in the field, what is one thing you have changed your mind about when it comes to teaching or learning?
Okay. This is actually, because I did see your questions before, this is one of the hardest ones because I've always taken a stance that really is about that individual that's in front of me and what they need and problem solving. And I've challenged the status quo a lot along the way. And so I don't know if it's, I don't know that at my core that my beliefs have changed. What I've had to do is figure out, and, maybe haven't always done as well as I had hoped, because there would be more change in the world if I had done as well as I had hoped. That it's just about how hard it is for change to occur in systems and figuring out what those barriers are. And I really do believe everybody, the adults, are doing the best and thinking that, they're utilizing resources in the best way that they can. But I think it's more reflection on my own.
Yeah. Well, I think you've done much more than you think you have.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I think as humans, we have a tendency
to want more.
To want more.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
But I think you've done some incredible work, Shelley. What is something not many people know about you?
So, despite my leadership and being involved with community organizations as well, with some of the provincial initiatives, that I'm actually an introvert. That I enjoy.
Took a lot out of you to be here, and then hopefully not. Yeah.
But even though I'm an introvert, that the people in front of me, around me, that's where I want my energy to go. And
I like that.
Yeah.
No, very nice. What is one thing that you would be most proud to be remembered for?
Okay. I think it's partly that literacy example that I gave you, just the impact that I've had over the years, starting from as a classroom teacher and how it grew through the system.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping is in the end, when I've, sign off for a real full retirement, that what I'm going to be most proud of hasn't even happened yet.
Oh, I love that.
And that's going
it's yet to come.
Yep. That's going to be this work moving forward into the world in a significant way, that Barbara's work is understood and out there and believed and adopted and having the impact that it warrants.
Yeah, that's beautiful. No, I really like that. It's yet to come. All right, Shelley, that was awesome. So I'm going to move on to our final question here. So we have a bit of a tradition. Our previous guests leave questions for our future guests, and then I'll give you an opportunity to leave a question for one of our upcoming guests as well. So we'll see what we have here, and I'll let you know who asked the question. You may or may not know them, but we'll find out. So this question is from Afzal Sheikh. He leads the technology division at the York School, and his question is: if you had only 1 year left in your role, what would you do today?
What would I do today? Probably look for more opportunities to speak with
Yeah.
with people like yourself so that I can get the word out there faster, because I really think about change. If we think about one drop going and the circles around, but if I can make multiple drops and more people are knowledgeable and sharing the work and the stories, the wider the spread.
I love that. That's a really good answer. Shelley, I'm going to give you an opportunity to leave a question for one of our upcoming guests. Right. Yeah. Or do you want to say your question out loud? You want to keep it secret?
Oh, yeah. All right.
Let's say it out loud. It's always fun. We're trying
All right. Oh, I can say it out loud. I'm just wondering what other leaders do to create a sense of belonging within and amongst the teams that they lead. And not just their relationship, but that the sense of belonging and relationship amongst everyone at the table.
Wow. Tough question for whoever is to answer that. Yeah. But this has been so much fun, Shelley. I mean, thank you so much for coming out. You've got an incredible story, and it's very clear that you've got a real authentic love for what you do, because not many people come out of retirement to go back into doing the work and into the chaos of education. So I think you're doing some incredible work. I look forward to interning next year, hopefully, and sort of volunteering and seeing the incredible work that you do. And I hope that even myself, I can get to experience that and learn more so that I can spread the word, because it sounds incredible. Yeah. And it's something that we need so deeply in this world. So thank you for the work that you've done for our students, but also for continuing to push the barriers and push the boundaries of what is possible.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing, because it is your role and your work that's helping spread the word.
Thank you. I have a lot of fun at it. Yeah.
That's good.
All right.
Thank you.